Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to Protrainy's demo on Surveying and GIS. I would like to welcome our expert, Mr. Sagar Mandalekar sir, who have joined our forces to make everyone industry ready. Now I would request sir to start with the session. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. A warm good evening to one and all. And here I welcome you all to this beautiful session on this evening. And I would like to continue with that surveying technique. And what we deal in this surveying session is this class. What we will discuss, I will tell you that in detail. First of all, in this demo session, in this course, what we learned is about surveying and what are the things that we cover, what are the things that applied in surveying, and how that will be useful in our day-to-day life and our professional life. And for that, we'll discuss about leveling, and further we will discuss about GIS and the types of instruments and how that's useful to the civil engineer or to a surveyor. So that's what we will discuss. So that's what we will discuss in this surveying course. So first of all, does all of us know what is meant by surveying? So in general terms, we'll define that this is a planning. So whatever we require the planning for a site, so that will be comes under. So that will comes under this surveying. So first of all, what is meant by surveying? So what are the things that to be covered in surveying? So first thing, the main definition of the surveying is the art of science of determining the relative positions of various points or stations on the surface of the earth by measuring the horizontal and vertical distances, angles, and taking the details of these points, and by preparing a plan or map or plan to any scale. That means here, look at this map. So in this map, so what the map looks like a clumsy thing. So whatever a surveyor does is this map is prepared by a surveyor with the help of the modern instruments we had used in our surveying. With the help of that instruments, we had prepared this map, and this map will be at a particular scale. If you want to enlarge it, so you can enlarge it into a scale, and if you want to compress it, we can use it as reduced scale. So what is meant by scales? So we'll discuss it later, right? So in this, what are the objectives of surveying? So what are the, for example, we know that what is meant by surveying. The first one is surveying is art of science of determining the relative positions of various points. That means wherever, for example, we all know that we are using the GPS instrument nowadays in our mobile or any instruments. So with the help of the instruments, we are using the GPS, and we are knowing that exactly where we are and what is the location and how the map is going to show. So all that things, whenever you are using a GPS, that will be, or that is prepared by a surveyor itself only, right? Why? Because this is the cadastral map. So cadastral map means whatever the area, whatever the habitations, whatever the villages that covers under a particular area, that will be covered under a cadastral map. So under this cadastral maps, under these maps, whatever the maps were covered. So under these maps, under these maps, whatever the streets were there, so all were covered. Like this here some roads were there, some areas were there, some habitations were there, some school is there, some park is there. So whatever the things that were covered under this cadastral maps, all were pinpointed and all were marked by a surveyor in a particular map with the help of the linear measurements. Linear measurements means, what do you mean by linear measurement? The linear measurement is the measurement that had taken in horizontal direction in a linear direction. So that will be taken as a linear measurement. That means, for example, if I want to measure a distance from this point to this point, so let name it as A and let name it as B. Let name it as B. So the distance between, if you want to measure the distance between A to B in a linear way, so don't mind, it must be a line. So if we know that the distance between these 2 points will be is taken as some 15 meters, right? Taken as 15 meters or 10 meters. So the 10 meters distance is the horizontal distance between from one point to another point. Like whenever we use a scale in our day-to-day life, that scale, the horizontal measurement that measured from 0 to some extent or 1 to some distance, so that is taken as horizontal measurement, and that will be called in our surveying language as linear measurement. And if you want to take an angular measurement, that means, for example, here, take this road is in this direction, and consider some road is in this direction. So if we want to measure the angular measurement between these two lines, is taken as angular measurement, right? That is taken as angular measurement. So whatever the distance, the measurements that are taken is only of two kinds itself only in our surveying. That is a horizontal measurement or angular measurement. Only two measurements were taken. And objectives of surveying. So with the help of these all data, what we can do to prepare a map or plan, show the relative positions of the objects on the surface of the earth, or to establish the boundaries of the land, or to select a suitable site for an engineering project. So all these were the objectives of surveying. And uses of surveying. So uses of surveying is, the first one is to prepare a topographical map, cadastral map, engineering map, contour map, and military maps, geological maps, etc. So all these were the uses of, and so many uses are there. And these are the main uses for surveying. The first one, topographical map. So this is the topographical map, which shows the only topological data. That means wherever the hilly areas are present, wherever the land is present, wherever the water is present. So that what we will consider in a topographical map. The topo details were only mentioned. That means here water is there, or here hill stations is there, here some deep areas is there. So that what, and the boundaries and etc. will be mentioned in this topographical map. And this is cadastral map, what we had earlier discussed. And this one is the engineering map. From this topographical map, we will extract this engineering map. With the help of this engineering map itself only, we'll use the GPS right now. And last one, the contour map. The contour map is used to locate the depth or height of a hill or a valley. Here, two hills are there. Two hills were present. So how can we measure directly by seeing these data? With the help of these data, we can determine, or we have to find out the height of that hill, or consider it as a valley. That means here the valley will be present like this in a triangular path. If the valley is like this, so if we want to measure the depth, or if we want to determine the depth with the help of these data, whatever the data that had given, with the help of this one only, we can measure, or we can determine the height of a valley or a hill. Here, how can we determine? With the help of this data. That means here, take it as, this is as 100, second one is as 200, and third 300, next 400, next 500. So the difference between the bottom part here, the bottom part is 100, and the top part is 500. So the difference between these two, the vertical height between these two is 500. So the difference between 500 minus 100, which gives you 400. So the height of the hill is 400 meters. So what we can call these numbers as RLs. That means reduced levels. That what we'll discuss in leveling concept. And if this is a valley, then if this is a valley, consider this as a valley. If I had considered the value in reverse order, this is taken as 400. Consider this as 400, and consider this as 100. Consider this as 100. So the depth of that valley will be 300. The difference between the 400 and 100. So this is all about contours, and whatever the dark lines that were present, the black lines that were present here are called as contour lines. And with the help of that contour lines itself only, we can determine the height of the hill or depth of a valley. And all these contour lines will be of same altitude, like this. Here, some lines were drawn here. So the line across the hill is of same altitude itself only. So that way we'll call it as the contour lines, and whatever the maps that were shown with the help of the contour lines are called as contour map. And the map looks like this. Just look at once here. So all these details were present over here, and that details were called as contours, and that map is called as contour map. Next, geological map. So with the help of this geological map itself only, we can determine what are the geology present, or it's a certain area or a particular area. Here, say this. Here, the yellow part indicates the sedimentary and sedimentary recent place, and the orange indicates the territory, and the green indicates igneous and Deccan, and the pink indicates metamorphic, right? So with the help of these data, we can determine the geological map and wherever the geology is constrained. Next, archaeological map. So for the archaeology department also, the map, whatever they were using, that will be, and that must be shared by the survey department itself only. So with the help of this archaeology map, the archaeology department will continue the archaeological find out, and with the help of this map itself only, they'll find out that work, right? And this one is a military map. So in this military map, what we will do is all the boundaries will be decided, and all the boundaries were marked for their easy movement of transportation and easy movement of movement from one place to another place, right? Up to any doubts are there? Anyone? Hello? Anyone is having any kind of doubts, just ping me, or anyone can speak. If you don't have any doubts, we can go ahead. Hello? Hello?
सर कैडेस्ट्रल के मैप के बारे में थोड़ा बताइएगा, कैडेस्ट्रल सर्वे का।
कैडेस्ट्रल मैप का ये है, क्या डाउट है इसमें?
कैसे सर्वे करते हैं? हाउ वी आर डूइंग सर्वे, सर?
How we are doing survey means this, to prepare a cadastral map, it's a very laborious process.
Yes, sir,
that
yes,
means
sir.
we have for this cadastral map, if we want to draw a map like this. So if we want to draw a map like this, first of all, we have to determine the boundaries of that particular habitation. So here, see, the one red line is present at this end, right? So the end of that, first of all, we have to determine the boundaries. Whenever we complete any surveying, first of all, we have to determine the boundaries of any particular area, whatever within us, whatever within us. So we have to determine the boundaries, and after that boundaries, we have to determine the streets And after that, we have to determine each and every building. And it is a very long process, and that will be taken care of, right? It's a very long process. To prepare a cadastral map, it is a very laborious process. First of all, we have to determine the village boundary. Otherwise, later on, we have to determine the habitation. Later on, we have to determine the roads. Later on, we have to determine each and every house building, right?
Yes, yes. So basically, this is used for sir city map for na sir.
Sorry.
This is uses for city map na sir. For particular city, we have
not even city. The cadastral maps are for each and every city, and each and every town, each and every village.
Okay, sir. Okay.
For each and every village, the cadastral maps are present. Right.
So all the details are plotted in this map, sir. Like road,
exactly.
building.
Exactly. So without that road building, etc., whatever that present on there in the ground, without knowing that, how can you do it in survey?
Yes, sir.
Is that okay?
Sir?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
A question.
Hello. Hello, sir. Tell me.
So, is it audible to you, sir?
Yeah, I'm audible. You're audible.
Okay. So, what kind of survey will be you prefer? Like, it is a drone survey or using total station? Like, which kind of survey will you prefer, like, for this kind of preparation of this cadastral map? Like,
actually,
which instrument? Yes.
Which instrument will be used, right?
Yes.
So actually, nowadays we are using drone. We are using drone, DZPS, total station, auto station, electronic total station. So many instruments are there to prepare a cadastral map.
Okay.
So that depends. That depends on the financial status. That depends on the feasibility of work. That depends on the manpower, machinery. So all these kind will be put together. That decides how can we, right? So nowadays only we have that drone, etc., all these latest equipments are there. But in olden days, there will be no drone, no total station, and all. They follow up only the chain and etc., right?
Who is the concerned authority to give this cadastral map, like engineer or like a revenue department or like a?
I can't understand what I'm saying.
Like, I mean,
which departments are using this map, sir? He is saying.
Which departments are each and everyone can use. So with the help of, you are using a GPS in your mobile right now.
Actually, what I'm asking is, like, who is the authority to?
For every village and for every town and for every state, there will be one survey department. There will be one survey department which comes under revenue department.
Okay.
They will maintain that.
Is a chartered engineer can give such kind of cadastral maps, sir?
Chartered engineer is designated by Institute of Engineers, right?
Is recognized by the Institution of India.
Yeah, by Institute of Engineers, not by Survey of India. Chartered engineers CE certification will be done by Institute of Engineers, which is done by Institute of Engineers. It's an autonomous body, right?
Yes.
So they can do it or not. That's their interest, but they are not the wholesale responsible for that. The responsible persons are only the survey department. Right? Any questions? Any questions? Shall I continue with the next topic, or shall we stop here? Or if you want to ask any doubts?
We can continue, sir. It seems.
Okay, then I'll continue with one more topic, and then by there I will conclude it, right? So first, primary divisions of surveying. So in this topic, what the thing is, first of all, the plane surveying and geodetic surveying. So what we will consider in our day-to-day life is presently what we will consider by the theory, by the oldest theory is our Earth is in geodetic shape, right? So we'll consider the surveying in two kinds. First one is plane surveying, second one is geodetic surveying. First one, in plane surveying, what we will do is all the surface of the whatever the surface of the Earth is there, that must be considered as plane, and the curvature of the Earth is ignored, will not taken into consideration. And whatever the lines here, whatever the lines that were here, so all this were whatever the line we draw here, that will be taken as a straight line, no consideration of that Earth curvature. And whereas coming to geodetic surveying, what we will do is we'll consider the curvature of the Earth, whatever the curvature will be there, the curvature of the Earth will also be taken into consideration, and we will measure the inclined length, whatever the inclined length is present over here, that will be also taken into consideration. So wherever we require, wherever we put that plane surveying into action, and wherever put the geodetic surveying into action. So first one, whenever we put the plane surveying into action. So first one, whenever small lines, the small distances between two stations, like 20 meters, 30 meters, 100 meters. So all this will be taken as, and below less than 100 meters, whatever the distance between 100 meters, that will be taken as plane surveying. And if that length is more than 100 meters or more than 1 kilometer, and whenever we measure the length of a sea or length of a big lake or river, so then we will consider the geodetic surveying, the curvature of the Earth is taken into consideration. Okay, these two are the primary divisions of surveying whenever we perform any survey, right? The major thing is fundamental principles of surveying. So only two principles are there. If anyone want to note, they can note down, not an issue. 2 points. Well, the first principle, whenever you are performing any surveying activity with the help of any kind of instrument, starting from chain to drone, whatever the instrument you may take, so you have to keep it in mind two principles. The first principle is hold to a part, and the second principle is locate a point by at least two measurements, right? The thing is, first principle, what is the location of hold to a part principle? Hold to a part means, here observe this diagram, whatever the diagram here it is, it's in a hexagonal shape. So whatever the points that were in a red color, that will be considered as a whole part. And whenever we are measuring, whenever we are saying this entire thing, so that will be taken as single unit, and that what we will say it as a one thing, right? Like just see above, one apple is there which is cut into several shapes, right? So we will, whenever we will consider, that will be seen as a single apple. Whenever it is cut into several parts, leave it apart. But what we will consider is, what we will see is, how we have to see is, it must be seen as a single apple. So how many bends were there, how many lines were there, how many cuts were there, how many bends were there, whatever the thing, how much distance it may come. So from starting point to again it comes to the ending point, the whole will be taken as a single unit, right? The first principle is that. And second principle, what is the second principle? Locate a point by at least two measurements. That means, for example, if we want to measure here, see, if you want to measure the distance of the point C here, if you want to measure the point C with the help of this A and B, with the help of the A and B. Let's take it as AB as a line. AB, A and B are 2 points. So with the help of geometry, whatever we learned in earlier days in our 9th and 10th classes. So with the help of any geometrical applications like equilateral triangle or a perpendicular, here the perpendicular symbol or Pythagoras theorem, whatever the thing you may use, you can use any kind of application or any kind of formula. You have to be, if you want to point out a third point like this at C, so you have at least 2 measurements. With the help of these 2 measurements, itself only, you have to point out the third point, right? So these are the 2 major principles that were discussed, that were came into action whenever you perform a survey, right?
So is that a concept similar to some kind of resection like it? Is it?
Yeah, of course. Resection is also came from this principle.
Okay.
Resection point came from this principle itself only.
Okay.
Okay. But nowadays, resection, all these things were not in practice, because the resection method is used in later in olden days. It's used in plane table surveying. After that, the resection is used in total stations. So nowadays, the total stations were also abolished, I think so, because all the latest instruments were used, like drone, DGPS, GPS, etc., came into action. So I think the resection will also be eliminated very soon. Okay, so with this we will conclude and we'll discuss the topics after starting our course. Right? If you have any doubts, you can ping us. Any more doubts, or shall I conclude this? Anyone? So with this, I conclude, and this is just introduction part itself only. So whenever you join, or whenever our classwork starts, it will come into action. All the problematic part and all the instruments and all the surveying equipments will be dealt over here, because no practical sessions were there, because it's in an online mode. And I'll try to make it happen, and I'll put all my efforts to make you educated, right? And any feedback, like you want any videos or any notes or anything, you can ping me.
Anyone having any doubts can ask to the expert. He is available now.
Okay.
Any doubts, anyone? You have the permission to unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself and ask your doubts.
So not an issue for asking any doubt. So be prepared and recollect all these things, and we'll start our sessions very soon. So we'll meet in that session and come up with the new doubts. Not an issue. Whatever the doubt you may feel, so you can feel free to ask. I'm there to help you. Right? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I have shared one message in your chat box, through which you can go through the link and enroll yourself for the course. Course price is currently 1,999, and you have an offer to purchase this course for rupees 1,799, And this offer is valid till tomorrow, 8 p.m. So I request everyone, those who want to enroll for this course, kindly go through that link and enroll yourself. Thank you. I request everyone, those who are having doubt, kindly ask to our expert. He is available now. Also, those who want to enroll for this course, kindly go through that link shared in the group. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Good night.